He was considerably upset that his son had run off from school and come home.
So talk about that line between fact and fiction.
Well, sometimes it's very thin. In this case, as I consider, let me think about that. I have a daughter named Claire. She works on a newspaper here in Austin, and but she was just a child, and she was about 6, and my brother had come to visit her, and I didn't know he was coming, and I was teaching at the university at the time, and I came home, and I found out that my brother was there, and that Claire had told him, "My mother wrote a story about you." And my brother said, "Oh," he said, "well, why don't you let me see it?" So she went and got the little magazine. It was called the Roanoke Review, a little magazine published at Roanoke College in Virginia. But that's where the story had appeared. So she went and got it for him. And she said she heard him laughing later. And I came home from the university, and my brother told me, he said, "I didn't know you knew so much about my life." So that was, he wasn't unhappy about it. He thought it was funny. So that was, I got off like that time.
I like that, and I think you mentioned this before, the Eudora Welty quote about writing being like patchwork quilt making.
Yeah, she was, I don't know if you all know who she was, but she was a wonderful Southern writer, and she was visiting the university, and I got to take her around and show her libraries and things like that. And I asked her what her method was, and she said, she said, "I just sort of piece things together." And I knew what she meant. That she said, I said, "Like a quilt?" And she said, "Yes." And so that was, a method that I understood well. So I was kind of piecing things together myself. Yes.
What about the line, "Don't tell everything you know"? Was
Yeah.
that something your brother lived by, or?
Oh, my father lived by that. And my brother was very close-mouthed about the things that you were most curious about. He really was. He just was so quiet that you never knew what he'd been up to. Yeah.
So you would actually describe him as a cowboy?
I was actually what?
You would describe him as a cowboy?
Yes. He
What-
he really became a rancher.
What is a cowboy in your mind?
I don't know. What is it in yours? Yes.
I think we got a pretty stereotypical view of the cowboy. With
Yes.
the hat and guiding cows to
Yeah.
riding horses and such.
Yeah. Yes.
Being a lonesome rider.
Did I know what?
I said the cowboy is a lonesome rider.
Lonesome rider.
Yeah. He it very much because we had an uncle who was a rancher and raised cattle, a step uncle actually, but he helped my brother decide finally what he wanted to do, and encouraged him. But my mother had this ranch, and it wasn't really large enough to run enough cattle to be profitable. So, but my brother started at that, and gradually he leased other larger places, and he was becoming very. By the time he died, he had accumulated enough to be very comfortable, shall we say, and then married. you know, you see the whole thing settling down kind of, and then abruptly he was killed in a one pickup wreck. We think he had a heart attack, but there was a lot of signs of it. But that was very hard for us today. But a lot of people still that are from that little town are still remember him because he was a wonderful character. He'd do things like going out and buying himself a new hat. He was very tight with his money, by the way. And then they have a process with the felt hats that they shape them. When you buy one at the store, they take a little machine that dampens the felt, and then it shapes the hat like you want it shaped. And but that costs a little bit. You have to pay a little extra. So my brother wasn't going to do that, and he came home and threw the hat in the bathtub. Well, I'm sorry to say it didn't work. But people knew things like that about him, and they were sort of waiting to see what he'd do next sometimes. Yes?
In the story,
Mm-hmm.
the girl seems very modern and ahead of her time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you found yourself to be and then reflected that upon the character?
I don't know. Maybe I was.